Hello everyone, welcome back. Welcome freaking back. As you guys can see by the title and the thumbnail of this video, we are at the end of a month. So with that being said, it is time to do a March wrap up, an April wrap up, and a May TBR. So let's start with our April wrap up, obviously. So the first book that we read in the month of April, this feels like this happened so long ago. I don't even remember, it feels like I read this book a month ago. Not just this month, it feels like it happened so long ago. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but we did read The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I loved this. This was so much fun to reread as an adult. I obviously gave this a 5-star. I like to rate banned books and classics just typically 5 stars in my opinion. I think that they sit with me in a very special place. They don't sit where romance sits, you know what I mean? Like, these just have special places in my soul, so that's why I always rate them 5 stars. But this book is so much fun to reread as an adult because you were just a little bit naive whenever we read this in high school, you know what I mean? So this obviously is a book about long lost love and I guess really honestly what love can do to a person if it's not the right type of love to be in. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. If you want to hear me talk more about this, go watch the Read and Watch video where I did an entire video on this book. So obviously this is a 5-star. Then the next book that I read in the month of April was Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Why did I do that, you ask? Well, because the Artemis 2 mission happened. So I loved every second of that. It felt like a read and watch even though it wasn't a read and watch. It was such a fun experience. I rated Atmosphere a 5-star. That book is something that I have been thinking about since I finished it. Joan and Vanessa sit so viscerally in my chest. I don't even know how to explain it, but their story in particular landed so hard. I loved every second of that book. If you watched the Artemis 2 mission, if you're interested in space, I would highly recommend picking up that book. Obviously, Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid was a 5-star. Then we read The White Octopus Hotel by Alexandra Bell. This book was so twisty and turny. I was shocked from the get-go. There was not a moment in that book that I expected to happen. The White Octopus Hotel, in my opinion, was 100% a 5-star. That book had me on the edge of my seat. It was a time travel story, but it was also a mystery in a way. Everything about that was insane. I haven't read a book like that since 11/22/63 by Stephen King, and this one wasn't necessarily on the horror side more than it was on the just mystery thriller side, I guess you could say. Not even thriller. I don't even want to categorize it as a thriller, but there is a lot that goes on in this book that causes your brain to just think. I also read that book in a video, so I'm not going to dive too much into it, but this book was so much fun to read. I enjoyed every second of it. Every second of it. Then I read The Highland Fling by Megan Quinn. This book was so cute. Like, I kind of expected it to be cute because it's Megan Quinn, you know what I mean? Like, she's such a fun author. She writes in the way that she speaks, and she's funny, but she's serious, and I don't know, her characters always just feel so real, I think because of her writing. I rated this book a 4.75. I feel like it could have wrapped up a little bit quicker. There were some things that I wasn't a big fan of, but overall that book was so cute. That was literally some of the cutest banter that I had read in the entire month of April. That was such a fun, I don't know, just back and forth story with our main female and our male. The Highland Fling, like I said, was a 4.75. It was so cute. Then I read or listened to, and don't judge me, okay? It was Earth Day. I was excited. I love the earth. So I opened up a little kitty book and listened to that, and it was Earth Day Every Day by Lisa Bullard, I think is how you pronounce that author's last name, Lisa Bullard. But it is a juvenile book. It is an elementary book, but it was really cute to read or listen to Earth in that way, where it's just like kind of juvenile. It's just sometimes what you need is just to listen to something that you love, and I love the earth, so it felt like the perfect time to listen to it. I rated it a 5-star because how could you not? That was so cute. That was so fun. If you need a palate cleanse, if you need something just really quick and fun, I would highly recommend it. Then we read People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I don't know how I had missed that book. It was one of the only books that I had not read by Emily Henry, and I don't know how I missed it, but I adored that book. That book felt so personal, so intimate, but also at the same time felt like the entire world needed to hear it. It was such a phenomenal book. I couldn't have expected anything less though. It's Emily Henry. She has such a fantastic way of writing these tricky and sticky and really dense relationships. Like, her relationships are never surface level relationships. It feels like it really is just down in the soul of her characters. Like, you have to do digging. You have to just, like, I don't even know how to explain how much I love Emily Henry's characters. I obviously rated that book a 5-star. Obviously rated that book a 5-star. And then the last book that I read in the month of April was Just Friends by Haley Pham. That book was also so cute. For that to have been Haley Pham's debut, which if you guys know, I'm sure you do because she's literally fantastic. I love Haley Pham's YouTube. She's got such a fun take on books. I feel like her opinions on books are usually so different than the other booktubers that I'm watching. It feels like she's always just got a different take than everyone else, and I've always loved her takes. But this book was so cute. It was so much fun. Now, I do feel like her characters felt a little surface level. They felt a little young. The book felt like a YA, and I know it wasn't supposed to be. So I couldn't rate it a 5-star. I ended up rating this a 4.25. I loved every second of it, but it just felt like everything was so surface level. There were just a lot of repetitions, just things that I'm like honestly nitpicking, and I maybe shouldn't be, but I really loved the story. I loved the plot. I loved just the thickness of it, just her ability to talk about something that's so scary, and she did it really well. And I really want to give a shout out to Haley. I know she doesn't watch my channel, but if by any chance she is watching my channel, I loved that. That was so cute. Oh my gosh, I have been thinking about that book since I finished it. It is really, really, really cute in the long run, but it just felt a little bit too young for me. So now that we are done with April, let's talk about May. I only have 4 books that I want to read in the month of May. 4, right? Yeah, 4. Oh, I forgot to grab one. Hold on. So I do have 4 books that I want to read in the month of May. These are books that have kind of been on my TBR for a while, but haven't been like the forefront of my TBR, if that makes sense. They're books that keep honestly getting pushed to the back burner. So I feel like what better time to read it than now? So I'm gonna do it. Basically, this entire month are going to be books that I have been putting off. Books that I just keep pushing back whenever I get new books. So the first book that I want to read in the month of May is The Disappearing Act by Catherine Steadman. This book I think is, yep, that's what I thought. So I think I had gotten like 10 pages into this the last time I tried to read it, but it was just not vibing with me at the moment. But this book follows an actress who is in LA who's trying to get through this pilot. I think she's really just trying to get into a pilot season. And so yeah, basically these two actors, they go out for like a weekend and one of them goes missing. So another one is forced to try to find the other because the police won't listen. So I think that this is going to be a really fun palette cleanse, something that I've not really like dove into. I think it'll be fun. The next book that I want to read in the month of May is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I said that in the month of April. Did I read it in the month of April? Nope, because I picked up a different book and it got pushed to the back burner again. So I'm going to read it this month. This one follows Marianne and Connell. So Connell is really popular and Marianne is not, but they strike up a relationship. So I think this will be like just a cute little romance to read in the month of May. I don't know why I've been putting it off. It's such a short book, but I am going to read it this month, I swear. Then I want to read, I just picked this up at Half Price Books not that long ago, but it is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This book has been on my TBR for years. I remember, I think this is one of the first books that I added to my TBR whenever I got my new Kindle. Or no, whenever I got my old Kindle. Geez, how long has this been on my TBR? For so long. This has been on my TBR since at least like 2018, 2019. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So yeah, this one is kind of gives me Caraval vibes in a way, but this is a circus that arrives without warning and no announcement comes before it. It just shows up. But behind the scenes, there's a competition and it's basically a duel between young magicians, I believe is what it says. It's like a young magicians who've been trained since childhood. So yeah, it's a very high stakes situation. So I think this will just be something that's gonna get me a little bit excited. Something that's just, I don't know, fun. I think this entire month is just gonna be books of fun and something that I need to read. You know what I mean? I just feel like I need to read this one. This one just has been calling to me. So I'm definitely picking this up this month. And then the last book that I want to read in the month of May is Daggermouth by H.M. Wolf. This is on my Kindle, but I have been seeing this on Kindle Unlimited for about a month, maybe 2 months, that it keeps coming up on things that I might like to read. So I feel like what better time to read it than now? This one's not been pushed back on my TBR. It is just kind of one that's been calling to me, I guess you could say. But I read a total of 7 books in the month of April. I'll go through those again with you. The first book was The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I rated a 5-star. I read Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which was a 5-star. I read The White Octopus Hotel by Alexandra Bell, which was also a 5-star. I read The Highland Fling by Megan Quinn, which was a 4.75. I read Earth Day Every Day by Lisa Bullard, which was a 5-star. I read People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, which was a 5-star. And then I read Just Friends by Haley Pham, which was a 4.25. And the month of May, I really want to read The Disappearing Act by Catherine Steadman. I want to read Normal People by Sally Rooney. I want to read The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. And I want to read Daggermouth by H.M. Wolf. Please let me know down in the comments what you guys read in the month of April and what you guys are going to read in May. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you leave a comment downstairs. Make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one.